Hey, good morning. So a while back I mentioned a short about Airbnb. It's been a rough couple days. Like I said, Airbnb kind of left me high and dry. I won't use Airbnb again. But I talked to myself anyway about doing a video series about Airbnb because I gained a lot of experience in the last 20 months on the road, staying in hotels, short stays, Airbnbs, the whole everything. So when it comes down to it, Airbnb versus hotel, I have a lot of opinions on this. I'm going to share some with you, but I wanted to break it down for you. I got a list here to run through of things to think about when you're making the decision to go to an Airbnb versus a hotel. And this isn't, really anti-Airbnb. I have some of those videos coming. This is more just, thought process for you. So Airbnb versus hotel, the first thing is how much time it takes you to book. So sometimes, depending on the marketplace, you can go into Airbnb and find a place, reasonably fast. But the way the system is set up, it's set up to occupy, the way the Airbnb platform is set up, it's set up to occupy your time. So you can sit there and, you can only refine a certain amount. You can't really, sort by useful things. For me, when I'm looking for places, there's categories I can't sort by. There's, it limits you. And there's really no good reason to limit you except to focus you into making a decision that you didn't want to make a decision. Because when you think about it, if you have in your mind the decision you want to make and you know the factors you need to make it, the easier somebody makes it for you to sort those factors, the easier you're going to come to the decision you had in mind. So when they start limiting those choices to you, like you can't sort by price, you can't sort by zip code, you can't sort by this, can't sort by that, right? The more it limits your ability to make the choice you want. If you want a really good example of what I'm talking about, go in and look at Zillow and play around searching on Zillow for a few weeks, and then search for houses on Airbnb. And you'll see Zillow gives you a ton of things to sort by, and Airbnb doesn't. And there's no good reason not to. And then a lot of amenities you look at, Airbnb won't verify. So if you put in and search for a hot tub, you're going to get a bathtub in most cases. You're not getting a hot tub. Search it for a jacuzzi, you're going to get a bathtub with a jet. So it's just, just interesting. But my personal experience is if I'm going to search Airbnb, it's going to take me 5 to 10x the time to find an Airbnb as it would to find a hotel in the same area. So I can go in and usually, because hotels have better search engines, I can go in and find a place much faster. And hotels, there's pretty standard things. Like when you book a hotel, you're not sharing a room with somebody. You're not, having to, manage your shower time around somebody else. And those are all things that you can't totally filter out, because even when you click entire place, I've had so many times I click entire place and a shared room pops up, or a shared apartment pops up. So it doesn't always filter, because Airbnb doesn't police its own tenants or its own hosts. So your time, how much is your time worth when you go to book, and how much time are you willing to spend on booking it? So if it's a special event and you're looking for a house for a group, yeah, I totally say that's an Airbnb situation. And you're going to spend a couple of weeks, browsing Airbnb, looking for the right location, the right place. And if it's a quick overnight stay and you're just looking for a bed to crash in, then Airbnb might be a good option, because you can just take anything and you're not so worried about it. If it's something in between, I'd probably stay with a hotel. Price versus value. So Airbnb, there's a lot of hidden fees with Airbnb. Hotels have some hidden fees, but they're usually right up front, especially when you click to book, they're right there. So Airbnb, I've had a lot of hidden fees come at me. Even had one, it was hidden in the safety section when you showed up, you had to drop 10 euro a day in cash, in person. Just random inconvenient stuff like that. And like I was just booking, before I had this problem with Airbnb, 2 weeks ago, I was on there and I find a place. It was like $22 a night, 4 nights. Cleaning fee is almost $60 plus taxes. And I'm like, why would I pay a $60 cleaning fee for a $22 a night? No, it just didn't make sense, right? Didn't make sense at all. But the price versus the value. So that also refers to what are you getting? When you book a hotel, you're getting a higher degree of reliability. So even if it's got good reviews, I wouldn't book any Airbnb I wasn't ready to walk away from immediately. So what do I mean by that? When you show up, if there's a problem with the location and you spend the night, Airbnb is going to, because I've been through this, okay? Airbnb is going to assume you thought it was acceptable enough to sleep there, and so you bought into the contract at that level. So you have to have compelling reasons to walk away if there's an actual problem, and that problem has to have arisen, overnight. It can't be like, oh well, we decided we're not happy with the door locks, or we're not, we don't feel safe with this window. You have to find all that stuff then and there. So a lot of times with hotels, that's not an issue, and especially if it's a chain, right? If there's a problem, usually the chain will step in and find a solution for you. They will make accommodations. They will do whatever they can to make you happy, because reviews matter more on permanent hotels than they do on Airbnbs. Think about it. If you've got an Airbnb for 6 months, you get really bad reviews. Okay, well now my sister owns the Airbnb. I'm still going to run it, but we get all new name, new everything, and new account, and it's all through her. But all those reviews are gone, right? We learned a lesson. All those reviews are gone. So you get a higher degree of reliability, and that's part of the value. Then a lot of times, when you're booking a hotel, you get points, you get breakfast, you get things like that. So price versus value, really got to check that out. Time of stay. How long are you staying at the Airbnb? To me, that is kind of a key factor. How long are you staying at the hotel? How long is your stay? That's a real key factor for me in making the decision of whether or not to stay at an Airbnb. So my general rule of thumb is I won't stay at Airbnbs for anything less than, previously, I wouldn't stay in an Airbnb for anything less than a week. The ideal was a lot of places will give you a really good break on the month. And so, that was my plan, was a month stay, or, a weekend event with friends, things like that. But I wasn't doing it for the 1 or 2 days, because the in and out cost, a lot of times you have to buy accessories. So like if you're planning on cooking, if you're not bringing your pans, you gotta, pick up some, almost always have to pick up some kitchenware, or bring kitchenware. Seasonings you have to bring, or, trust what's there. So there's a lot of extra hidden costs, and a lot of those, if you're amortizing them over time, it's not a big deal. If I go drop $20 on a fry pan that I'm going to use for 2 months and then carry with me or give away, then that's great, right? But if I'm going to drop $20 on a fry pan for a weekend or a week, that's not a good option. So the length of stay, to me, really is a key factor in deciding whether an Airbnb or hotel. And that also plays into how much are you going to be cooking and how much are you going to be eating out. So if you're going to be eating out a lot, Airbnbs lose a lot of their price appeal. If you're going to be cooking a lot, and Airbnbs can save a lot of money. When I go travel, food can be anywhere from 20 to 120% of hotel stay. So if my hotel is $100 a night, I found my food can be anywhere from $20 to 150, 140. Just depends on what I'm doing, where I'm at, and how I'm eating. So food is a real big swing factor, and Airbnbs can influence your food budget very much. Desired trip and activity. So are you going to be in and out, or are you going to be chilling in the room? So I talk about this a lot in the past about cheap hotels, and how cheap hotels, a lot of times when I'm traveling, a cheap hotel is the best answer, because I can go in, I can sleep, shower, change my clothes, and then bounce out and get everything done. Okay, a little cut in here to get specific on time to find a good booking place. There's 4 things I look at when I'm booking at a hotel. I look at the location, the price, reviews, and then the pictures. And that's pretty much it. I don't need to look much deeper. I'll look at, location and price are typically the driving factor when I'm looking at a hotel. And then pictures, if I'm looking for a pool or, to see what the room's like, anything like that, I'll spend a little bit of time on the pictures. And then reviews, I usually check some recent reviews just to make sure there isn't a problem there. And if I see anything really good or the good reviews sound really fake, then I'll dive a little deeper, read a few more. But I usually don't even spend a lot of time on reviews, to be honest with you, on hotels. I just do a quick scan to see if they're good, bad, or other. Now, when it comes to Airbnb, I have those same things. The pics I have to spend a ton of time on the pictures because of the deceptive marketing of Airbnb. So, and I can do a whole thing on this, but when you're looking at listings for Airbnbs, pictures, and the fact that they don't have standard pictures, like most hotels have pretty standard pictures, right? You get to see a little bit of the hotel, you get to see the bed, you get to see the bathroom, and it kind of gives you an idea of what you're in for. Airbnbs, a lot of times, I found one that had like 100 photos and they were all of the city, and okay, good on you, but none of that really was influencing my decision to stay there or not, because I already knew what the city was like. I don't need your opinion of the city. I need the facts of your place, whether it's good, bad, or other, or whether it will suit my needs and desires. I don't need that extra BS, and having to filter through that to find what I need is just a waste of time. And that, to me, that's what it all comes down to. So pictures, if those 4 factors, pictures, I spend a ton more time on Airbnb for good reason, and you should too. Reviews, again, with Airbnb reviews, you have to be super careful, because people on Airbnb will not leave bad reviews unless it was horribly atrocious and they have a long history or no history. So, and that's the other thing about Airbnb reviews. A lot of times you got to go back and see who wrote it and look at their other reviews, and there's this whole evaluation process. And if you don't really care about walking away from the stay, that's fine. But if you're trying to book, a place for a month or a week or a very important weekend for you, then you really need to spend the time and understand that reviews are not very objective on Airbnb. Reviews are very much, it's a community feeling. I've even had Airbnb come back and say, this is a nice community, we want to keep it nice and happy. Okay, well, nice and happy isn't always honest in Airbnb's viewpoint. And in hosts, like I left one review that was not even that disparaging at all, not even close to how bad reality was. It was something about, like, I wish they would have told me there was a nightclub downstairs, or the aircon didn't work in Italy in the middle of summer. But, the host came back and tried to trash me really hard. Thankfully, my record stands on its own, and I've got a lot of good reviews from other hosts, and I've left a lot of great reviews because the host deserved it. And now it doesn't matter because I'm not going back to Airbnb. So the 4 factors: pictures, reviews, location. Location with hotels is easy. You put it in Google Maps and you can see how far you're walking to the nearest train station. You can see how far you're walking to the nearest bus station. You can see how far you're walking to whatever it is you're doing. You can see how far you're driving. It's easy. You can see the in and out. You can see, like, there was this one hotel I stayed at. It was a pain in the ass because you had to walk way around to cross this road. You couldn't just cross the road where, you know, if you looked at the map, it seemed like you could just cross the road, but the reality was you had to go all the way to the corner and then cross. But that was all easy to find out before I got there. Airbnbs, it's not easy to find out. So location with Airbnbs, you got to be a lot more careful. And here's where it gets interesting. I've stayed at Airbnbs where the only way to find it was through the host. So food delivery ain't happening. You got to go to the hotel, have it delivered to the hotel, you know, down the block. Uber ain't happening. Grab ain't happening. Bolt ain't happening. Taxi drivers, you give them an address, they're like, I don't know. You put the address in Google Maps, it says, I don't know. So location. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're horrible, sometimes you just don't know till you get there. And that is something to check your cancellation policy. You know, Uber or Airbnb and their cancellation policy is just ridiculous. Guy just charged me $60 for having the rental for 5 minutes because I wouldn't agree to his terms after the fact, when before the fact he said you just need to email me your information, and after the fact he's like, no, you have to register with this company. It's like, I'm not registering with that company to stay at your place. I have no desire to register to get marketed to by some random company I've never heard of. So, and that plays into location, right? So check your cancellation policy, because if the location isn't going to work for you and you don't know that until it's too late, you're out that money. And Airbnb will do nothing. The other thing there is, well, that should be in another video, but I was going to say with location, stairs and distance to parking. Like, you know, there was one where the parking was down the block, so if it's raining, you know, you're not making trips with your luggage and things like that. Then price. So price with Airbnb, like I said, you've got to double check everything with price. You've got to go in and check all the little fees. You've got to check everything. Some of them will supply things like toilet paper, some will supply toothbrushes, some will supply none of that. So are you having to buy or bring your soap, paper products? Are you having to wash the linens before you leave? You know, that's all stuff in there. So those 4 items are kind of a direct side by side. The price, location, reviews, and picks, right? When you're evaluating a place to stay. Now, here's where Airbnb really loses it, is when I'm evaluating a place to stay, and I kind of touched on this before, but there's a whole nother list here. So I'll just run through it and then we'll talk about them. Chores, rules, safety issues, hidden concerns, and hidden fees. So chores, self-explanatory, right? Some of them want you to do the dishes, some of them want you to strip the beds. None of that's real bad, but some of them get, you know, mop and clean, right? And then they still want to charge a cleaning fee. Rules, some of the rules are really interesting. But you have to go through and you have to evaluate the rules and read not just the rules section, but read every little section of the Airbnb, where most hotels, rules are pretty standard. I mean, the most random rule I've come across is no durian in the hotel, right? Or no guests in the hotel. That's all pretty normal when you travel. It's pretty standard. You know, I've never come across a hotel that had some random stuff like, you know, no TV after 11 o'clock, right? Stuff like that. So So rules are an issue. Safety issues. You have to go through and evaluate the safety issues on the Airbnb. So, and when I'm not just talking about what they talk about, but you've got to look at the pictures and see if there's, I stayed at one place, the stairs were just incredibly dangerous, especially on a winter snowy day, super slippery. Okay, we're doing a little multitasking here. So I was talking about safety issues. You need to go back and review any safety concerns you have. And it's not just about what they list in their safety issues. It's about what, concerns you. Are there doors, concerns with the locks? Do they show the locks? Are there concerns with neighbors? Are there safety concerns with a pool, with stairs? I had this one stay in Poland, really great place. There were a lot of things I wish they would have disclosed, and one of them was the stairs are super slick and steep. So, America, stairs are pretty standard. When you get out of America, standardization of a lot of that stuff goes away, and so these were super steep and super slick. So, it's the middle of winter, and you're coming off the snowpack outside, and, there's limited salting of the sidewalks, nobody's shoveling, and you're on these steep, rock or marble or porcelain or whatever stairs. It just wasn't, and then they got narrow because of the way they went up around the corner. So it was just a really dangerous situation. That with the really tight doorways. The doorways were under 28 inches. So that types of things. So safety concerns, you've got to go back and double check your safety concerns. A lot of safety concerns for me revolves around doors and locks and windows. I'm paranoid about losing stuff because I've lost stuff, and I don't like to lose things. So it's a real pain in the neck for me. So, one thing most Airbnbs don't do is they don't show you a good picture of the door, which I understand, I don't understand. But, in some areas when you're in the city, it's a bit of a concern for me. And there's nothing standardized about that, right? I was at one hotel, it wasn't an Airbnb, but it was a hotel, and the doors didn't lock, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it, nobody ever steals anything. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to be the first guy, right? I don't want to be the first guy to deal with that. And then hidden fees. So I talked about this a little bit before. So hidden fees, every once in a while a hotel will have a crazy, stupid hidden fee. But the reality is Airbnbs thrive on hidden fees, whether it's a tax they didn't tell you about, whether it's, a cleaning fee, or, oh, you used one too many rolls of toilet paper, or, you used this. You have to go in and scrutinize every listing you're debating to look for hidden fees. So like I said before, I stopped in one place and they had a €10 a day, in cash fee. It's like, why is Airbnb making me pay cash? Why can't they do that through the app? Why can't they do that through the system? It just made no sense to me. And when I confronted Airbnb on it, they're just like, yeah, whatever. The ironic thing is I had to get out of that place, and I paid the guy cash for the Airbnb, for the fee, but I wasn't staying there, and they wanted me to stay there. Airbnb wanted me to stay there. The tenant or the host wanted me to stay there, but it needed significant plumbing work done, and I'm like, I'm not staying here. And the host wanted me to stay there and wait for the plumber. And it's like, this isn't my house, bro. I'm here for the weekend, and you want me to stay and wait for the plumber? No, I'm out of here. Your plumbing doesn't work, I'm out of here. And I never got that cash back. And Airbnb is like, well, that's on you. You decided to leave, and they basically told me I should be grateful I got any refund at all. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a second. The plumbing didn't work, and you're telling me I should be grateful I got any refund at all. And then the lurches, or the real rub is when things like that happen, it leaves you out on the street with nowhere to go, and now you've got to sort out a new booking. And yes, that can happen with hotels, but it happens very rarely. And the one time I've had it happen with a chain hotel, I've had it happen a couple times with mom and pops, but you know, the location on those, it wasn't that big of a deal because you just walk down the street and find another one, right? But when it happens with a chain hotel, a lot of times they will help you find another location. They'll help you find another option. But when it happens with Airbnb, no, you're stuck going back to the drawing board and seeing what is now available. And you know, like when it happened with a hotel, you know, they went and searched all their properties, went and searched their sister properties, and you know, they didn't really have anything that worked, but they found a location and, you know, got me a taxi on them, things like that, right? They took care of me. Because why? They want me back as a customer. That Airbnb host, if it's, you know, depending on the host, some want you back as a customer, some really don't care because they're not in it for the long haul. Oh, that's interesting. So, hidden fees, hidden costs, all that. Okay, I think we were talking about desired trip activity. So desired trip activity plays a huge role in where I'm deciding to stay. So a lot of times, to me, the best place to stay is the cheapest hotel I can find because I'm not encouraged to sit around the hotel. I've had numerous cases where I checked into a hotel and I'm like, screw this, I'm not leaving because this room is the bomb, the food is great, and I just end up chilling and I don't go out and walk around. Where other places like El Nido or Caron or Chargal, you know, you're sitting in the room on an uncomfortable bed and you're like, okay, I'm getting the hell out of here. And I'm out and about no matter what. So what you desire to do should greatly influence where you stay on your trip. And Airbnb, you know, you need to really spend a lot of time. Is this a place I want to sit and chill? Or is this a place, you know, where I want to get out of the house and go do things? And if it's a get out of the house and go do things, is it convenient to get out and go do things from that location? Is it convenient to come and go quickly? Is it convenient to do blah, blah, blah? Or is it a pain in the neck because you're down 6 side streets? Okay, so I kind of touched on this about in location, but ease of taxi, Uber, check-in, check-out, all that. So a lot of times Airbnbs, you know, think about this, you know, you're planning on getting there at 5 or 6 in the afternoon, your flight's delayed 3 hours, now you're getting there at 9 o'clock at night. The host is like, sorry man, I'm in bed. It's gonna be €100 for me to come back out there, €20. You know, there's a late check-in fee. There's no check-in after this time. The Uber can't find it. Things like that can really, you know, create problems for you. So the ease of check-in and check-out, you know, something you really want to weigh. And, you know, you're like, oh, well, no problem, I'm driving. Okay, well, you're supposed to meet the person at 2 o'clock for a walkthrough. You get a flat tire, you stop for lunch. Now it's 5 o'clock, now they're pissy. You know, it's just a, you know, and not every host is that way. I'm not saying every host is that way. I'm painting the worst possible scenarios because they happen. You know, they're the worst possible scenarios or worst likely scenarios, whatever, because they happen, right? You know, I'm not talking about a meteor hitting the house you're trying to stay at. I'm talking about stuff that actually happens, things that have happened to me, and things that have happened to people I talk to. So the ease of, you know, everything, you got to compare that to a hotel, right? Some hotels, I've stayed at, very, very few, but you know, you have to check in before midnight or there's an extra fee, or you have to do this, right? But it's pretty much, you can check in and check out whenever you need. There's always somebody there, you can drop a key. And I've even had hotels with late check-in fees. You know, they left a key for me in a box, and then I picked it up and checked in the morning. So it's just another level of added tasks you have to put on your booking process, your travel process. And then reliability. So I've talked about this in a lot of different ways already, but the reliability of hotels is generally much higher. And it goes back to a lot of factors. One of them is reviews, right? Hotels are in it for reviews over the long period, and reviews are much more honest at hotels. I talked about this earlier, but people will be much more honest with hotel reviews and much more brutal. And hotels can always respond back to them, but reviews on hotels, they don't affect that person's ability to book again. Reviews on Airbnb affect your ability to rebook. So if it's a horrible stay, no matter how bad it was, chances are you're not going to leave a bad review. At most, you'll say, I won't stay there again. 1 or 2 word comment. But reliability of Airbnbs, you have to be able to walk away from any Airbnb you book and have another plan. And I learned this in a couple different places, but Budapest was where it really hit me, because Budapest, the city was full. I booked the Airbnbs way out in advance for good reason, and now I booked a really cheap place because I wanted a really cheap place. I wanted a clean bed, a clean shower, in a decently quiet place to sleep. And I didn't get that. I didn't get a safe place to sleep. Didn't get a safe place to leave my bags. Didn't get a clean place. Didn't get a safe place in general. There were actual safety hazards inside the Airbnb. And so now, I'm standing on the street with my bags, no internet, trying to figure out where to go. And, now I've got, between now and dark to find a place to stay in Budapest in the middle of winter, right before Christmas. So I ended up taking it in the shorts. And does Airbnb care? No. Did the host care? No. They were both upset with me because I wouldn't stay in the unsafe apartment. There's actually a broom closet. But they were both upset with me for expecting what I booked, expecting to get what I paid for, what I booked, what I agreed to. So now I'm on the street, and I booked with another place, and they canceled. And then I booked with a third place at 4 times the rate, and that was only for 2 days. So then I'm having to sort out. And here's the kicker that nobody talks about, right? And this is where Airbnb really screws you over hotels, is if your price point is hotels and you're in that, that's your plan, then, you bounce out of this hotel, easy to find another hotel. But if you're banking on the 2-week stay and getting the price break of a week or 2-week stay and cooking at home and things like that, and all of a sudden you're on the street, now you've got to spend how many hours finding that new place to book? And aren't you on vacation? Aren't you out traveling? Aren't you out supposed to be doing fun things? And now you're left scrambling trying to book a place? So that time hack comes at the most inconvenient time in the world, right? And that's what happened to me this last week, 2 weeks ago with Airbnb. The reservations got canceled at the worst time possible. I had set aside hours to find a place, book it, get it all set. And I had a whole chain of, stays, like 5 different stays laid out. And, everything, I'd reviewed them all, I'd done everything. So, I started going through the booking, and then the second one, the whole thing falls apart. And it fell apart because of a deceptive ad. But now, I get into it with Airbnb, and honestly, I expected Airbnb to go, yeah, That is kind of a deceptive thing. And even if they were going to keep the money, that would be okay with me. But the fact that Airbnb changed their user policy, I ended up canceling all my stays, and then I'm out, scrambling at the worst possible time, because I should have been out doing activities I had planned instead of sitting on the computer trying to find a place to stay, and arguing with Airbnb, right? So that reliability factor goes away with Airbnb, where if it's a hotel, you just go up the chain, right? Hey, you know what? Can you have your regional supervisor call me? No, I don't want to talk to the hotel manager. I want to talk to the regional supervisor when he's got some free time, and I'll discuss that with him. I've had a problem with a Hilton one time, and it was really trivial, really, really trivial. But I called Hilton Honors, and they're like, yeah, no problem. This is what we can do for you. This is da-da-da, and it was above and beyond what I would have asked any hotel to do at that point in time. But it didn't take me hours, weeks, days of back and forth with incompetent tech support or incompetent, customer service people. When you're dealing with a company like Hilton, Marriott, any sort of company, right? It gets escalated immediately, and there's not this back and forth for weeks and days and weeks about right, wrong, or other. It took a good week to get a definitive answer from Airbnb. So in that week, I'm kind of in limbo, right? And oh, by the way, every day, every hour you wait, other bookings are disappearing that you could have possibly rebooked into, instead of the one that you got bounced out of. So, the reliability factor, is huge. And it's really, really hits you at the worst time. If you have a problem with Airbnb, it's going to be a time hack at the worst possible time for you to waste time doing something like that. A conversation I've had with a lot of people, and a video is probably in my future of this subject, is how much is your time worth on vacation? And to give you context, if you fly 14, 20 hours to, say, the Philippines, do you want to spend one of your 6 days on a bus all day? Like 8 hours on a bus? Is that worth your time? Is it worth you to fly that many hours round trip to do 6 hours on a bus? That would actually be 2 days, right? 6 hours one way on a bus. So you basically burn 2 days of your vacation riding a bus. Is that worth your time? You get 14 days off a year, say. You got a day at home before you leave, a day at home when you get back. That's 12 days. You got a day in the air there and back, or 2 days in the air there and back. Now you're looking at 8 days. A 2-week vacation's down to 8 days. Are you going to spend 2 of those 8 days on a bus? Well, when you've got 4 days in Tokyo, are you going to spend a day of that fighting with Airbnb, cumulatively, a day fighting with Airbnb, having that stress on the back of your head? Or are you going to book with a hotel, pay a little more, and get the reliability? Choice is yours. I'm not trying to sway either way. I'm trying to tell you the problems I've had, the solutions I've found, and open this up for discussion. But hopefully that gives you kind of a good roundup of Airbnb versus hotel from my experience of being on the road. And I've traveled a lot before this, but I've literally been on the road nonstop the last 20 months. And that's my plan for the next 2 or 3 years, is to stay on the move and bounce between short stays, hotels, and apartments and things like that. But my goal is to not stay in one place any more than 4 months, and I've pretty much achieved that without any trouble. So anyway, any questions, comments, you think I missed something, you know, hit me up. Think I got something wrong, fire me up in the comments. And I'm gonna go finish my laundry. Hope you have a great day.